Hey, gotta make a YouTube video today. Okay, so what to talk about for 5 minutes today? I think what I'm gonna talk about is I made a note yesterday about how easy it is for me to start a book, read about a third of it or half of it, and get really bored and stop reading it and get a new book and start reading that book. It's something that I do quite a lot. And I notice feeling a bit frustrated sometimes because I want to be somebody that finishes the books that I start to read. Funny enough, something that a teacher told me in my very first year of design school. I was in a class. It was all about designing three-dimensional objects. We experimented with pottery. We did experiments with foam board, kind of artworks and structures and things like this. All just like three-dimensional structure design. And the teacher of that class, who I remember was super interesting to me because he was from California. He had this super thick surfer kind of accent that nobody in Michigan had. So, anyways, I remember this guy, and I remember one thing he said to me during I think it was a project review, and he said, always finish what you started. I think because maybe even at that time I was 18 years old, I still struggled to finish what I start. Easy to start a lot of different things. I think even at that time, like in the class, I'd have five or six ideas that I could get going and get started on, and then really struggle with the second half, really struggle with the finishing. And I still struggle with that to this day. In a lot of what I do, my work, as a web designer, as a brand designer, the fun, energized part always seems like the beginning, and it's the final part, the wrapping things up, finishing it, cleaning things up, and that's the least fun or least interesting for me. And then I guess the same with my books, wow, the pattern repeats there as well. Here's another half-read book, another half-read book. I have 4 books that I've started in the past few months and not finished any of them. Currently, I just started reading The Creative Act with Rick Rubin. Great book. About 50% of the way through, I bought a new book, The Wisdom of Shamans. I've started reading that. Before The Creative Act, I was reading a book called The Magic of Surrender. I think I read just about 50% and just kind of got tired. Really amazing book, though. Really aligns with a lot of what I feel like I'm going through right now with just the theme of allowing. So, Kute, he's been on a bunch of podcasts. And before that, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, which I've read before, but there's so many different translations and versions on available now. And this one that I bought is like one of the best I've had because the author does this like really good intros to each of the chapters, and I've just always been into that story. But again, I didn't finish that. Probably did about halfway through, and then switched it up. So I have like 4 half-read books on my table right now, and I guess I guess my point is that I really struggle with that, and I'd like to be somebody that like finishes the book that I started reading before picking up a new one, but I just notice for some reason it's real hard, and I'm sure that plays out in other areas of my life that I'm just taking notice of. Anyways, that's my 5 minutes. Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good one.